Yes, indeed, I'm going to follow up on the Breton's conference by speaking mostly about failure, actually, failure in finance. So, allow me to share my views about the way finance tends to reward failure. Yes, I said reward. And how this is affecting the financial world, the economy, our way of life, our society, and also our whole civilization, actually. So let me explain. First, let us look back and think about what was the initial role of finance. The early capitalists like Albert Escher, the founder of Credit Suisse, is actually the man who built the Swiss railways, also the Swiss Polytechnical School. So really he founded Credit Suisse in order to finance projects, infrastructure and ideas that were destined for the whole well-being of society at large. So the first financier, if you will, used to know intimately that finance was here to serve the real economy. This was really the basis of finance, how it was born. And also, some of them knew profoundly that because they became rich, they had to give something back to society. They had the intuition that if there was a collective investment by society for several generations in order to create schools and infrastructures and those things, those tools that they themselves have used in order to raise themselves to wealth and power, then they have to give something back, and they used to reward their employees and the community at large by thinking globally in terms of community and in terms of sustainable economic development. What do we have today? Nothing like that. What we see is top bankers, some traders, negotiating in order to maximize their bonus packages, even at the top of the speculative bubble, and then run away with the money and let the speculative bubble collapse on the heads of the several millions of people, employees, people who will be, who suffer from massive job cuts after the bubble has burst. So these people, the taxpayers, you and me, are going to pay for the disaster that allowed those top traders and bankers to enrich themselves. So of course, there has been 3 decades in between, and we've seen that the ethics and standards in finance have dramatically changed. I'd say there has been an unprecedented collapse in ethics and standards that has culminated in 2008. But what happened since 2008? And this is what is very interesting. Nothing has changed. I'd say even more, things have become worse. You're going to ask me how could things get even worse after the whole disaster that happened in 2008, where 10,000 billion of wealth was erased from the US economy alone? Well, this became possible, the increase in risks that we're seeing today and the increase in the same trends that are creative of a future speculative bubble has been possible because failure has been rewarded. Concretely, what happened is that governments used government money to merge failed banks together and create even bigger giants that concentrated even bigger risk. So that no one learned anything. There was no accountability. All of us have seen that no one was jailed, no one had to account for anything, no one had to explain themselves for anything, although there was very obvious mismanagement, incompetence, failure. So rewarding failure means creating the conditions for double failure. You want to reward failure, you get failure until the end of your days. You want to put a AAA on failed policies, bad management, bad institutions, you'll get AAA failure. So really there has been a perversion in economic thinking during the last years, because we have been trying sort of to revoke the eternal laws of economics and even maybe of thermodynamics. I think there are scientists in the room, so I'll stay cautious there, but you know, you just can't revoke the philosophy of that you have to be sanctioned when you fail. I'm talking here about liberal thinking. classic liberal theory would never allow for two failed institutions to be merged with government money into a major institution. So this is not possible, but what happened is that we allowed that to happen, and today I can give you a figure that will summarize the concentration of the new risks in finance. The derivatives market, the financial instrument that is the more prone to speculation, represents today 800,000 billion. That is 800,000 plus 9 zeros, right? So this is 10 times global GDP. So virtual finance has taken first place and real economy is taking second place. Companies don't manage to get credit for their activities, especially small and medium ones. Commodity traders don't manage to get funding. How come the commodity traders, the commodity exporters, who are at the heart of the real economy, who export really the natural resources that all of us use every day, can get funding from the banks? All the while, banks are getting enormous amounts of liquidity with which they concentrate on maximizing their margin and their interest margin and speculating on the markets. So most of us here might be parents, I guess. So what we do is that we teach our sons and daughters, especially when they're very small, we educate them. We educate them. That means there is a system of reward and sanction. What do you do when your 3-year-old toddler misbehaves, has temper tantrums, asks impossible things, starts, really pushing you and making you really irritated? Well, you have to give him a little lesson because you want to deter him from doing the same again, right? I do the same with my 3-year-old daughter, although I love her, because I don't want her to repeat this behavior. So, absent this, we are going to have more and more failure. So people will answer to you with the argument, sorry, those institutions were too big to fail. You will get the TBTF argument here. This is the ultimate argument where it should close the discussion and then you don't have anything more to add. But I have something to add. I have a challenge to the too big to fail principle. And it's the major intellectual imposture, the major intellectual fallacy of the idea of too big to fail. For very simple reasons. Take a government. This government consider that they have to bail out a big bank because otherwise it would be disaster, a depression and everything. They bail it out. In order to do that, they get into enormous debt. But in the meantime, the bank is now again up and running. But they have created moral hazard. Moral hazard is incentive for the future to take on even more risk. That's what moral hazard means. So you get more risk, and then the next crisis inevitably comes. It is looming on our heads now. Even if I might sound too pessimistic for you, I can tell you that we're having a quantity of unregulated derivatives in open contracts now being traded over the counter and outside of a bank's balance sheet, that no amount of equity, I repeat, no amount of bank equity can cover. It is a risk that no amount of provisions can ever cover. So the next crisis is looming, and then what happens? Well, governments are out of money, they're all broke, and we don't have any money. So the next time the institution goes on the fringe of crisis, no one can save her. The savior of last resort has disappeared. So the too big to fail argument is just a one-shot strategy. You can't even do it twice. You do it once and then you get broken the second time and then the whole system explodes. So it is just not a sustainable strategy. It's not reasonable to say that. What we need to do really is be aware that there is a whole breakdown in the value system of society. We have to think back about what is our value system. There is no accountability in finance. Is there real accountability in society at large? I mean, we don't like to have to account for our mistakes. We don't like to feel the pain. We have painkillers. We have artificial and highly toxic sweeteners to eat instead of sugar. We want to avoid pain in general. But what we need to relearn very quickly is to love pain, to love legitimate pain, because if you abuse in a certain direction, you have to get back and rebalance the economy. This is very important, knowing not to waste, loving austerity, relearning fiscal discipline, not sanctioning it. Stock markets sanction responsibility and they reward irresponsibility at the moment. We have to get rid of easy money, of the state of being dizzy and drunk all the time and never having any hangover the next day, because a hangover means that you're getting back to balance. So what I mean really is we have to grow up. So, since I've been advocating discipline, I think I need to stop now because I'm out of time. So I thank you very much for your attention.